So, I've been talking with a few members the last couple of weeks, and it appears that there is some varying degrees of depression due to the fallout and the consequences of the measures that the government took to combat COVID-19. And I'm not going to say if they're good or bad, but they're just the results of what happens when certain things are put into place. So, want to mention that I am not a doctor, but I'm going to pull a couple of quotes out of this book called Depression: The Way Out by Dr. Neil Nedley. And not a whole lot, but I just want to pull out a few things to give you an idea of what we're kind of dealing with and how everything kind of amounted to a perfect storm when it comes to increased amounts of depression. What I want to mention is that the book talks about these things called hits, and these hits are things that are hits to your mental health. And so what we have is about 10 categories, and these are ranging from things like nutrition to toxic levels in your body, like with mercury or lead or something like that, right? And as well, lifestyle choices. But I don't want to get too heavily into it. I just want to borrow a couple of things from what he talks about, specifically 4 categories that I believe many people would be able to relate to with the fallout. And according to the book, there are out of these 10 hits, your brain can handle 3 of them, but after 3 of them, it is likely that as soon as you have 4, that you will start to feel symptoms of depression or some other mental disorder. So everything involved with COVID, or as I like to call it, the big Rona, is kind of the perfect storm for this. So here we're going to go. First hit is called the social hit category. This is where you have an absence of social support and you can have some negative, stressful life events. So with the advent of the big Rona, we've had a negative, stressful event, and the social supports are largely taken away when you're not able to be in close contact with people who are in your support group. So that's hit number 1, is social. And you can handle 3, but you can't handle 4. Okay, so here's the second one. It's called the circadian rhythm category, when the circadian rhythm is the natural cycle of your body. And so in that category, we have things like sleeping more than 9 hours a day, and not having regular hours for sleeping and eating. This is a pretty significant problem with people who may be staying home from their job and not really able to, or not really feeling the desire to wake up at 5:30 in the morning every day to maintain your schedule, and eating habits go all over the place. I struggled with that a little bit myself as time went on, or the first few weeks of it I struggled with some of that myself, and I had to set my alarm and get myself back into a schedule. And that's probably a familiar story to a lot of people. And this one is also probably a familiar story. It's called the lifestyle hit category. And in that we have things like not having a regular exercise program and not getting daylight and fresh air throughout the day. This would be especially problematic for those who would live in an apartment. Here where I am, I was able to get out into a yard, and the kids were able to get into a yard, and it was much less stressful that way, but especially if somebody's in an apartment. So here we have 3 hits already, just from the negative effects of the consequences of the government regulations and everything that we had to do. And the 4th hit would be the frontal lobe category, where you have regular entertainment, TV, or movies. And my personal opinion, and not in the book, is that you can probably add video games to that list, as well as eating lots of rich food and not having regular Bible study or abstract thinking. And why am I talking about this now instead of earlier on? Well, it's pretty simple. One, better late than never. And two, it's what I thought of this week, especially considering the conversations that I've had with people. And hopefully, if you're able to recognize that some of these things are problems in your life, then you'll be able to hopefully take some steps to counteract what is going on. And of course, with depression, the worse people get, the harder it is to climb out of that hole that we get ourselves into. The other thing I want to talk about, though, is how God worked with the Israelites after he brought them out of slavery. So they were an oppressed people, and he brought them out of Egypt, and he was taking them to the promised land. In the meantime, they were in the wilderness for a time, and they ran out of food, and they were all whiny about it. So God gave them manna, and I want to collect some lessons from the manna. So here we go. Manna was bread from heaven, and watch this. Watch how he's going to systematically make sure that they're not going to be depressed people. He gives it to them in the morning, and if they don't collect it early in the morning, it would evaporate with the heat of the day. So they had to get up in the morning to get it, same time every day, especially in that area. It was large enough to collect, but it was small enough that it took them a while. And while they were doing it, they would have been getting sunlight, and they would have been getting out into the fresh air. They would be socializing, and they would be exercising while collecting the manna. They had nutrition. They had the nutrition taken care of. They had their circadian rhythm taken care of. They had exercise taken care of. They had their lifestyle taken care of. And they had their frontal lobe taken care of because they didn't have rich food. It was plain food, but nutritious and healthy. And media, of course, didn't exist, so that wasn't a problem for them there. And to top it all off, here's the really awesome part of it. It would rot if they tried to save up extra and eat it the next day. It would rot overnight, except for Friday. Friday they would go out and they would collect a double portion. That's what God told them to do. And he said there's not going to be any manna on Saturday. You will have a double portion to collect on Friday, and then it will stay good, and you'll eat that all day Saturday. That is what you're going to get. So that they would be able to enjoy a Sabbath day rest, because God knows that we need it. It was given by God for the good of man to have that time to spend with family and to spend getting to know Him. So in ending, if your mental health has declined over the last few months, and I'm not afraid to mention that I've noticed a change in mine, but God showed me some things that I needed to change, and that because they were affecting my mental health. And a couple of the changes that I had to make were, like I said, regular sleeping habits, regular eating times. I took away most sugar, and I added in some exercise. And for you, maybe it'll work for you, maybe it won't. I think it will. It's worth a shot. Once again, I'm not a doctor though. I took the information from a book by a doctor, but as all those wonderful drug commercials say on TV, ask your doctor if a healthy, well-balanced lifestyle is right for you. So, hope you all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.